Okay, so good morning everyone. And my topic for today is a really important one, which is the Judicial Department of the Philippines, which is covered under Article 8 of our Constitution. Simply put, the judiciary is a branch that makes sure justice is served and the law is followed. It's the critical third pillar that keeps our government balanced. Now, let us say to the next one, which is the judicial power, which is the meaning and scope. So, what exactly does the judiciary do? Well, their power or their judicial power has three key parts, as you can see on the slide, which is the number one, interpret and apply law. This is their basic job. They read the law, figure out what it means, and apply it to resolve conflicts. Number two is adjudicatory power. This is the court's core function. They settle actual legal controversies. It has to be real conflict involving rights that can be legally enforced. Expanded power. This is or the judicial review, which is this is the most critical check they have. It's the power to examine the action of the president or Congress and determine if they acted with grave abuse of discretion. If they abuse their power, the Supreme Court can step in. Now, let's proceed to the next slide, which is the how our courts are organized or their yeah. Now let's look at the structure. We have a clear hierarchy, often called the judicial pyramid. This structure ensures decisions are reviewed thoroughly and consistently, leading up to the final authority from top to down. Now that's number one is the Supreme Court. They are the boss, the highest court, handling the final appeals. The Supreme Court speaks. When the Supreme Court speaks, it sets the official legal precedent for the entire nation. It's the court of last resort, somehow. Next is the Court of Appeals. This is the primary reviewing body. They review decisions that come from the lower trial courts and even decisions from the special bodies. Think of them as the quality control layer for the trial process. Next is the Regional Trial Court. These are the major trial courts handling serious cases like murder, major property disputes, or even the family law. They have what we call general regional jurisdiction, meaning they handle almost all major cases filed for the first time. Next one is the Metropolitan Municipal Trial Court. This handles smaller minor cases such as violation of city ordinances or lower or less severe crimes or lower severe crimes. They have limited original jurisdiction. Cases usually starts and end here unless there's an appeal on a legal point. Now let us proceed to the next one, which is the special courts handling special cases such as beyond the main which handles special cases. Okay. Beyond the main hierarchy, we have specialized courts that handle specific legal areas, usually because those areas require unique expertise or protection. First one is the Sandigan Bayan. This court is famous for handling corruption. It has exclusive jurisdiction over graft and corruption cases involving public officials. So yeah, it's a really good it's a really important one. Its existence is vital because it ensures that those in power are held accountable by a dedicated specialized body. Next one is the Court of Tax Appeals. Their name says it all. They deal exclusively with high stakes tax and custom cases. Tax law is complex, as you may know, just like they study that in somehow in accountancy, and you will learn that in law schools. Now, tax law is a complex, and having judges who are experts in finance and revenue ensures fairness for both the government and the taxpayers. We also need to mention the quasi-judicial agencies, which are non-court administrative bodies like the National Labor Relations Commission (NLRC) or the Civil Service Commission (CSC). They perform judging functions. For instance, the the National Labor Relations Commission or the NLRC settles labor disputes. They are crucial for somehow the efficient resolution of specialized high volume cases outside the court system. However, because they are not actual courts, their decisions can still be elevated and reviewed by the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court to check for any abuse or discretion. Now, let us proceed to the next one, which is the congressional power over the congressional power over jurisdictions. It defines how our legislature affects judiciary. Now, the power to apportion. First, the Congress has the power to apportion. This means Congress is the architect of our court system. They define jurisdiction of all lower courts, deciding what cases the municipal courts or regional trial courts can hear. This power is essential for the efficient of management and distribution of the judicial workload across the country. The constitutional restriction is the second. Congress has two crucial restrictions set by the Constitution to protect the judiciary. First one is the Congress cannot deprive the Supreme Court of its essential jurisdiction. This protects the Supreme Court's core powers, like ruling on the constitutionality of laws. It keeps the Supreme Court as the final legal authority. Number 2 is the Congress cannot reorganize the judiciary if it undermines the security of tenure of its members. This is vital. It means Congress cannot pass a law to fire judges they disagree with, ensuring our judges can remain independent and impartial. Let's proceed to the next one is the classification of court jurisdiction. Now we have here is a general and limited. We can classify jurisdiction into pairs. First, based on scope. General jurisdiction means the court can hear all types cases like our regional trial courts. Now, when it comes to limited jurisdiction means the court can only hear specific minor cases defined by law, like our municipal trial courts. Now, original jurisdiction is the authority to hear a case for the very first time, or like a brand new case, like somehow like that. And the appellate jurisdiction is the authority to review a lower court's decision. Now, when it comes naman sa exclusive and concurrent, exclusive jurisdiction means only one court can hear that specific type of case. For instance, the Court of Tax Appeals has exclusive jurisdiction over certain tax disputes. So, meaning, isang court lang yung may hawak niyan. Yun lang, para madali. And the concurrent is, of course, means two or more courts share the authority to hear the same case, such as Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals over certain petitions. Meron mga cases kasi na may dalawang court yung nag-handle in such situations. Next is the criminal jurisdiction. It is the power to try cases involving penal code violations. Next one is the civil. This is the power to try cases involving private rights and remedies. Now, understanding this classification is fundamental, as the validity of any court's decision hinges on having correct type of jurisdiction over the case. Now let's now look at the composition of the next slide. Let's now go to the next slide, which is the composition or first, the composition. Supreme Court is fixed at 15 members. This consists of 1 Chief Justice and 14 Associate Justices. This number is fixed by the Constitution and cannot be changed by the Congress. The Chief Justice is the administrative head of the entire judicial branch, while all 15 members sit as the final tribunal. Now, when it comes to sitting procedures, the court handles its massive workload in 2 ways. It can sit in en banc, meaning the full court of all 15 members hears the most important constitutional or policy setting cases. Or it can sit in divisions, usually in panels of 3 or 5 justices, to handle the bulk of ordinary appeals and routine cases. Now, when it comes to vacancy deadline, the Constitution ensures the court is fully staffed. Walang kulang. It's about the participation somehow. It ensures the court is fully staffed by imposing a strict deadline. Vacancies must be filled within a strict 90-day period from the occurrence of the vacancy. This short timeline, which applies to the president appointment power, is crucial. It prevents the court from being undermanned for too long and ensures that it can consistently and efficiently resolve cases. Now let's discuss the powerful role of the Supreme Court through its function of judicial review and what makes controversy legal fit for the court. Now let's next slide. The first is the judicial review. First, we have judicial review. This is the fundamental power of the Supreme Court to determine the validity of acts of other government branches against the Constitution. Essentially, the Supreme Court acts as the final check, making sure that laws passed by the Congress or orders issued by the President do not violate our fundamental law. It is the bedrock, or it is the somehow building block, or somehow the wall of our checks and balances system. Second, we have the executive agreements. These are international agreements made by the President without the Senate's direct consent. So it doesn't need the consent of the Senate or the Congress. The key point here is that they are the subject to mandatory en banc review. The en banc which is the topic we have earlier. So again, the key point here is that they are subject to mandatory en banc review for validity by the Supreme Court. Unlike treaties which the Senate must ratify, or means the Senate must ratify, these agreements go straight to the Supreme Court for a full court check to ensure they align with the Constitution. Next one is the justiciable questions. Now, we have the justiciable questions for the Supreme Court to even hear a case. The controversy must be a controversy fit for judicial determination, and it must be distinct from political questions. This means the issue must not involve legal rights that can resolve using legal standards, not just political or policy disputes. If a question is purely political, the court will generally defer to the elected branches. But if it touches on a constitutional right, the question is justiciable and the court must intervene. Now, these three concepts require judicial review, its special check on executive agreements, and the requirement of justicial questions define the boundaries and the power of the Supreme Court in our legal system. Now, we don't have this in the PPT, but let's try to topic this, which is the administrative function of the Supreme Court. its rule-making power under Section 5. The scope of rule-making in the integrated bar, this power gives the Supreme Court comprehensive authority to make rules governing the entire legal process. This includes pleading, procedure in all courts, and the admission to the practice of law, meaning they include or they control the bar exams. Furthermore, the Supreme Court oversees the integrated bar, whose purpose is threefold: to elevate legal standards, or to improve the administration of justice, and to help the bar to discharge its public responsibility more effectively. They also ensure legal assistance to the underprivileged. Now, when it comes to constitutional limitation, now, despite this broad power, the Constitution places strict limitation on the rules of the Supreme Court can make. These rules must be, number one, simplified and inexpensive for the speedy disposition of cases. Number two, uniform for all courts of the same grade. Number three, they shall not diminish, increase, or modify substantive rights. And the last point is critical. Substantive law is the what. It defines our rights and duties, while procedural law is the how, the steps to enforce those rights. The Supreme Court can only make rules on the how, not change the what. Now, when it comes to the appointment power, the Supreme Court has the administrative power to appoint all official and employees of the judiciary in accordance with the Civil Service Code. This ensures administrative control over the personnel or of the entire judicial branch. In short, the Supreme Court control the process of justice, but the Constitution carefully limits that control to protect our fundamental rights. Okay, now let's proceed to the fiscal autonomy, which is the judiciary's fiscal autonomy. The independence of the judiciary isn't just about just making impartial decisions. It's also about having fiscal autonomy, financial control, and this protected by three major safeguards in the Constitution: financial independence and the non-reduction clause. First, we have financial independence, which is the constitutional guarantee of the judiciary's financial freedom. This is upheld by the non-reduction clause. This means the Congress cannot reduce appropriation below the previous year's budget. This prevents the legislative branch from punishing the judiciary for from punishing the judiciaries for an unpopular ruling by cutting their funding effectively removing a major form of political leverage. Now, automatic release is the principle of once the budget is approved, the funds must be automatically and regularly released. The executive branch cannot sit on the judiciary's money or withhold it for political reasons. This guarantees that the courts always have the necessary resources to operate and serve the public. The purpose of all these safeguards is clear. They prevent political branches from influencing judicial decisions through financial means. Fiscal autonomy ensures that the courts remain independent and impartial, which is absolutely vital to the rule of law. Now, to sum that up, in the judiciary's financial life is protected by these three constitutional shields to maintain its crucial role as an impartial arbiter, or someone in the middle. And that's it, everyone, for my part in this particular report, and thank you, and let us now proceed to the next reporter.
Good day everyone, my name is Abdul Warith B. Musa, the second reporter for this chapter. Now today I'll be presenting to you the key provisions of Section 6 to 11 of the 1987 Revised Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines. Now, this part of Article 8 will focus on the powers, qualifications, appointments, salaries, tenure, and discipline of the Philippine judiciary. These sections are essential to ensure that justice is administered fairly, impartially, and independently. Now, let's start dito sa Section 6. Now, the Section 6 states that the Supreme Court has administrative supervision over all courts and all court personnel. Now, this means that the Supreme Court is the one in charge of monitoring, overseeing, and disciplining all other courts from the Court of Appeals down to the lowest trial courts. No? Now, why is this important? Because, before, under the 1935 Constitution, the system was different. Now, the lower courts were supervised by the President, now through the Department of Justice or the DOJ. And the Secretary of Justice was the President's alter ego, meaning he acted on the President's behalf. No? Now, because of this setup, the supervision of judges and court staff could be influenced by politics. How is that so? No? Think of it like this, no? Now, itong mga judges na to and the court staff, they might feel pressured to make decisions that will favor the president and his allies. And also, the president could use DOJ to punish judges who rules against them or their interests. Now, this major change was meant to protect judicial independence, no? Kasi wala nang external control o wala nang control from the president. So, they won't feel pressured to issue a decision that is against their will. And also, it was meant to remove political influence from the management of judges. So, wala nang political interference. And also, it was meant to ensure fairness in the administration of justice. Mas fair na siya kasi wala nang external control or they weren't controlled by the president na. So, they will issue decisions that will benefit the people. So now, the executive branch can no longer interfere with court administration. Does this include special courts or the Sandigan Bayan? Yes, because the Section 6 says that all courts. So it includes the Sandigan Bayan, which is an anti-graft court. Now, dito naman po tayo sa Section 7. Dito sa Section 7, ang pinag-uusapan dito is yung qualification sa kung sino yung i-appoint bilang kabilang ng Supreme Court or any lower collegiate court. By lower collegiate court, ito yung mga courts with multiple justices like the Court of Appeals, Sandigan Bayan, and Court of Tax Appeals. Now, to be appointed as a Supreme Court Justice, a person must be a natural-born Filipino. No? Dapat natural na Pilipino, walang halo. No? Yung mga naturalized na citizens cannot be appointed, meaning yung mga nagpa-naturalize. No? And also, a person must be at least 40 years old. Dapat apat na po taong gulang na po. And also, dapat po at least may 15 years of experience in either being a judge of a lower court or nagpa-practice ng law sa Philippines for 15 years. Dapat din po is maging be a person of proven competence, integrity, probity, and independence. By competence, sinasabi dito na he knows the law and is capable, no? By integrity, sinasabi dito is honest and moral. By probity, dapat daw may strong moral principles. And by independence, cannot be influenced by politics or pressure. Dapat he knows to act on his behalf. Now, these qualities are required for all judiciary, not only the Supreme Court. Now, dito naman sa qualifications sa pagiging judge ng lower courts, dito naman is the Constitution provides the minimum qualifications. First, you must be a Filipino citizen. No? Now, unlike sa Supreme Court justices, dito sa judges of lower courts, na the Constitution provides the minimum qualifications. First is dapat daw must be a Filipino citizens, no? Unlike Supreme Court justices, natural-born status is not required. Hindi required ang pagiging natural-born, no? This avoids treating naturalized Filipinos as second-class citizens. Now, also, he must be a member of the Philippine Bar, meaning the person must be a lawyer licensed by the Supreme Court. Dapat pumasa po sa bar exam. And also, judges must know the law in order to apply it correctly. Dapat din po, he has proven competence, integrity, probity, and independence. Yan po yung mga na-discuss ko na po kanina. these constitutional qualifications cannot be changed by the Congress. Hindi po ito pwede ibahin ng Congress. However, the Congress is allowed to add more qualifications through law, but only for lower court judges, not for Supreme Court justices. No. Now, these additional requirements come from laws passed by the Batasang Pambansa, now Congress. Question is, can Congress change the qualification of Supreme Court justices? The answer is no. No. Congress cannot increase or decrease constitutional qualifications for Supreme Court justices, members of Congress, the President, constitutional commissions, ombudsman, and deputies. Now, these people are protected by the Constitution. Pero the Congress may add disqualifications instead of qualifications, no? For example, pwede lang i-disqualify isang tao who is convicted of a certain crime, no? As long as they make sense for the position. Question po ulit is, why judicial qualifications matter? Now, administering justice is extremely important. Why? Because judges decide people's right, people's money, people's freedom, and even life and death in criminal cases, no? Parang, the life of a person in trial is in the tip of the judge's pen. No. Also says that being qualified is not enough, no? Kasi even if a judge meets the technical qualification, it does not guarantee impartiality, independence, and moral integrity. A judge must be someone who cannot be controlled by politics, wealth, or influence. Dapat na isang judge, hindi daw siya nagkocontrol ng politics, ng pera, at ng influence. Also, they shall have high moral standards because among all public officials, judges carry the heaviest moral burden because they can change lives with a single decision. Now, so, in simpler terms, now the Supreme Court justices must be natural born, 40 years old, and 15 years of legal or judicial experience and high moral character. Sa lower court judges naman, they must be Filipino citizens, lawyers, and also possess good character. Now, the Congress can add qualifications only for lower courts, not for Supreme Court. Now, the Constitution protects the judiciary by requiring strict standards. Now, good judges must be independent, honest, and morally upright because they decide people's lives. Dito naman po tayo sa Section 8. Sa Section 8 naman po, ang pinag-uusapan dito sa yung composition ng JBC or the Judicial and Bar Council. Now, the Judicial and Bar Council is the body that screens and recommends people who can be appointed as judges and justices in the Philippines. No? Now, this exists to prevent political influence in choosing members of the judiciary. Now, who composes the JBC, no? So, the JBC is composed of 7 people, no? First is the Chief Justice as ex-officio chair, the Secretary of Justice, and the representative of the Congress as ex-officio member, a representative of the Integrated Bar, a professor of law, a retired member of the Supreme Court, and a representative of the private sector. Now, sila po yung 7 na in-appoint ng President for a term of 4 years, no? With Commission on Appointments approval. But the first set had staggered terms to ensure continuity. Though the IBP representatives, na yung term po nila is 4 years, a law professor po is 3 years, a retired justice 2 years, and a private sector representative po is 1 year, no? Now, this prevents all members leaving all at once. Now, who is the Secretary of the JBC? Now, the Clerk of Court of the Supreme Court automatically becomes the Secretary of the Council. Now, he or she keeps all records of meetings and proceedings. Now, paano naman po ang compensation nitong mga JBC members, no? So, the compensation of JBC members, the regular members, not the ex-officio ones, receive emoluments. Meaning payments or allowances, no? So, the Supreme Court decides the amount. Ang Supreme Court po ang nagde-decide ng amount kung ilan yung allowance or emoluments ang ibibigay dito sa mga JBC members, no? Now, yung budget naman po dito sa JBC ay nanggagaling din po sa Supreme Court's annual budget, no? Sa annual budget ng Supreme Court, doon po nanggagaling ang budget ng JBC. Now, ang primary duty po talaga ng JBC is to recommend appointees to the judiciary. Meaning po is that they screen applicants, no? They evaluate, they interview, they shortlist, no? And now, they submit the list to the President. Now, pagkatapos po masubmit sa President ang list ng mga na-shortlist, or mga na-evaluate na nag-apply is the President must choose judges and justices from the list prepared by the JBC, no? The JBC may also perform other functions assigned by the Supreme Court, no? So in short, the JBC helps select judges and justices to keep politics out of the judiciary, no? So parang sila po yung parang nagiging screening para hindi na po nag-interfere ang politics within the Supreme Court.
Okay, dito naman po sa Section 9, ang pinag-uusapan dito is yung appointment of justices and judge, no? So, paano nga ba na-appoint ang mga Supreme Court justices and lower court judge, no? Ang presidente po ang nag-appoint sa lahat ng ito. But, the president cannot choose freely. Why is that so? Kailangan niya pong pumili ng 3 or at least 3 na nominees na galing sa JBC or the Judicial and Bar Council, no? Now, these appointments do not need confirmation from the Commission on Appointment, no? Hindi na po ito kailangan ng confirmation ng COA. Why is that so? Kasi nga, itong sistema to it is designed for to reduce political interference. Okay, so ano nga po ba ang problem noong 1935 Constitution, no? So under the 1935 Constitution, no, the President appointed judges with confirmation from the Commission on Appointments, no? So itong mga confirmation na to before, na it often came out as political bargaining or kung sino yung ayaw ng mga taga-COA na pa nilang hindi ipa-appoint itong mga judges na to for a reason, no? Okay, now, under the 1973 Constitution, wala na pong COA, wala na pong interference by the COA. So, the President alone appointed these judges or these justices. So, mas madali na lang pong i-abuse ang power kasi nga wala ng checks and balances. But, under the 1987 Constitution, bago na po, it is less na po yung political interference because JBC was created, no? Ano nga po ba ang job ng JBC? Their job is to screen, parang they have to evaluate every applicants, yung mga justices po na nag-apply for the job. Okay, so ang presidente po pumipili lang po siya sa mga list na binigay ng JBC, no? So wala na pong wala na pong confirmation from the Congress. And also yung goal po nito is yung appointments is based on solely merit po, hindi na po siya by politics, no? Dito na po tayo sa president's limits, no? So, the president must only choose from the JBC list, no? Hindi po siya pwede mag-choose nang wala po sa lista na binigay ng JBC. But, pwede po siya mag-request mag-request po sa JBC na mag-add ng more nominees. Okay, dito naman po tayo sa mga timeline for lower court appointments, no? So, para sa mga lower courts, the president must make the appointment within 90 days after po niya ma-receive ang list sa JBC. Now, bakit nga po ba ang JBC is crucial, no? Because the JBC was created by the Constitution, no? It is not made by the Congress. So, ang Constitution po ang nag-specify kung ilan yung members, ilan yung terms nila, ilan yung sahod, and ano po yung sakop ng power nila. Now, this will ensure that the JBC is independent and cannot easily be manipulated by politics. So, wala na pong political interference by this time. Okay, so ang main function po ng JBC is to mag-evaluate and recommend appointees to all courts in the Philippines. Now, because the JBC is composed of people from different sectors like judiciary, legal profession, private sector, Congress, and etc. Now, it is a broad-based and less likely to be controlled by politics since it was created by the Constitution, and less na yung political interference because meron ng Judicial and Bar Council. Okay, so ang goal po nitong new system na to is magbigay sa JBC ng full authority or full autonomy to recommend judges. Now, these judges will aim to prevent political interference. Now, less na po yung political interference because meron na pong JBC. And also, dapat ma-ensure na yung appointments are based on merit, not because of politics or connections or etc. No? This will improve the quality of the judges and also strengthen the public trust in the courts because nga sila lang po yung nag-appoint sa mga kasama nila. Pero marami pa rin pong nagsasabi na kahit bago na po yung system, ay mayroon pa rin pong corruption. How is that so? Kasi nga po, the president still has the last say. So, sa mga binigay na list ng JBC, pwede pa rin po siyang mamili based sa kung anong gusto niya or based on his interest. No? So, by that, masasabi pa rin po natin na mayroon pa rin pong corruption or politics can still influence the JBC members. However, it is far more better than the old system where parang corruption within that sector is very rampant. Okay, now dito naman po sa section 10, ang pinag-uusapan dito is yung salaries or compensation nitong mga justices and judge, no? So, firstly, ang salaries are fixed by law, no? Nakasulat po yun sa Constitution. Fix na po yung compensation or sweldo ng itong mga justices na to. Ang mga sweldo po ng Chief Justice, yung mga Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, and yung mga judges po of lower courts, no? Now, this salaries must be set by the Congress through a law, no? Though now this means that their pay is not arbitrary or hindi po siya pabago-bago because it must be officially determined by legislation, no? Kailangan po ito iset ng Congress. Okay, number 2, ang mga sweldo po nitong mga justices na to at saka yung mga judges from the Supreme Court na their salary cannot be reduced. Why is that so, no? They cannot ito pong rule na to na it protects them from political pressure, no? So once unjudged or once they are already in office, na the Congress cannot reduce their salary. Okay. So if Congress could lower salaries, it might use money as a way to control or punish judges, no? So kasi kung may control po ang Congress sa mga sweldo nitong mga judges na to or mga chief justice na to, they could meron na ng pong political interference because they could use money like as a way to punish justices that go beyond their interest. Okay, so why does this rule exist, no? It exists to attract competent and good people to the judiciary. And also, it is to maintain the independence of judges. Since nga wala ng external control, they can make decisions based on their own will, no? And also, it is to prevent the legislative or executive branches from influencing judges by threatening their pay, no? Since wala na pong control ang legislative and executive sa mga salaries nila, yun nga, they can make decisions based on their own will, no? And based on their own judgment. Okay, so meron pong special quote na a famous principle na that was quoted, no? So a power over a man's subsistence amounts to a power over his will. Ang meaning po nito is if someone controls your salary, then they can potentially control your decisions. Why? Kasi you will follow what they want because they control your subsistence. Okay, number 3, ang mga salary increases po are allowed, no? 'Di ba? Hindi po pwede i-reduce ang payment or ang compensation nitong mga justices or chief justices na ito, no? While their pay is not allowed to be reduced, na yung salary increase po is allowed, no? Wala pong prohibition against raising yung judicial salaries immediately. Number 4 is salaries are taxable, no? Now, even though itong mga judge ay may parang they have protections regarding their salary na they are still required to pay income tax like all other citizens dahil wala pong exemption ang judiciary sa pagpipay ng tax. Wala pong tax. Okay, lastly is yung mga initial salaries po nitong mga ito under the Constitution, no? So ang mga Chief Justice po, ang sweldo po nila is 240,000 annually and itong mga Associate Justice is 204,000 annually. Na itong mga amount po, they will change under the Congress's will, no? So ang Congress pang nagde-decide kung ilan ang salary nitong mga judges and justices. Even though it is already fixed in the Constitution, the Congress still have the say if they want to increase it, but they can never decrease the salaries of these people. And that ends Section 10. Alright, dito naman po sa Section 11 ang pinag-uusapan dito si new retirement or good behavior and discipline of judges, no? So, ang sinasabi po ng Constitution is ang mga members of the Supreme Court and judges of lower courts na they can hold office during good behavior, no? And also, they can hold office until they reach 70 years old and also, they can hold office until they become physically or mentally incapacitated, no? Now, what does this mean? They do not have fixed terms po, no? Wala pong fixed na term ang mga justices na nakalagay sa Constitution. They can hold office until they are 70 years old or until they are mentally incapacitated, no? Okay, now why does this rule is important, no? Kasi in good behavior tenure po is a key protection for judicial independence, no? Judges cannot be removed simply because their decisions are unpopular or because the government officials dislike them. Now, this protection ensures they make decisions based on law, not political pressure, no? Ito po yung judicial independence. Okay, dito na po tayo sa retirement age history. So originally, under the 1935 Constitution, ang ang retirement age po nitong mga justices or judges are 70 years old. Now, under the 1973 Constitution, na-reduce po ito into 63, and under the 1987 Constitution, pinalik po ito sa 70. Now, why was it reduced to 65 under the 1973 Constitution? It was reduced because they wanted the judges to enjoy retirement earlier, no? And also, to open opportunities for younger lawyers. Now, why was it returned to 17? It was because the country was losing older judges who still had better experience, better wisdom, better skill, and mentally sharpness. Kasi ang sabi po nila is, a judge who is still physically and mentally fit should not be forced out too early. Dito naman po tayo sa termination of or removal from office, no? So, sa mga Supreme Court justices po, they can only be removed through impeachment, no? It is stated in the Article 11, Section 2. Now, for judges of lower courts, no, ang Congress po, they can set the causes and procedures for their removal, no? Congress may also create procedures to determine if a judge is incapacitated or they are mentally unwell. Now, normally, if a government office is abolished, the official loses the job, but it is not considered removal. Now, why is that so? Because there is no violation of tenure because the position no longer exists. No, hindi po sila nawalang trabaho. Parang it's just that like the job never existed at all. Now, the Constitution does not allow abolishing or reorganizing the judiciary in a way that undermines tenure. Now, why? It is to prevent the president or Congress from pretending to reorganize the courts just to remove judges they dislike or who refuse to follow political orders. No, yun po yung reason kung bakit hindi na po allowed ang i-abolish or reorganize ang judiciary. Okay, dito naman po tayo sa meaning of good behavior, no? Ang definition po ng good behavior is, it means conduct that follows the laws and judicial ethics, no? Now, hindi po included dito ang honest mistakes, errors of judgment, wrong decisions made in good faith. This does not justify removal. Now, for Supreme Court justices, good behavior means they have not committed impeachment of offenses, no? Now, for lower court judges, the Supreme Court alone decides if a judge has failed to meet the standards of good behavior. And also, the Supreme Court's decision on this is final and is irrevocable. Now, lastly, dito na po tayo sa disciplining or removing judges of lower courts. Now, sino nga ba ang may power to do this? It is only the Supreme Court who can do this. Now, this includes authority over the trial court judges, Court of Appeals judges, and Sandigang Bayan justices. Now, how is discipline decided? It is decided through a majority vote, no, of the Supreme Court justices who is actually there, who actually participated in the deliberation and who actually voted on the case. Now, this prevents justices who are absent or uninvolved from affecting the outcome, no? Now, ang mga possible na penalties po na pwede sa kanilang ma-impose is suspension, number 2 is fines, and number 3 is dismissal from the judiciary, no? Now, this ends my part on this report. My name again is Abdul Warith P. Musa, BA Political Science 1, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.
A pleasant evening to each and everyone. I am Jamima M. Jamal, your reporter for tonight. So, at this hour, I'm going to discuss the remaining sections or the remaining parts of the topic in Article 8, also known as the Judiciary Department of the 1987 Constitution of the Philippines. So, what are we going to learn in this topic is that the section 12 to 16 is has a big picture, or it has an outline or the important rules that could guide the judiciary, especially in particularly in on appointments, decision making, the time limits, reporting, etc. Okay, so what are we going to learn here, or what are we going to aim for us to understand this topic is that we will provide examples or like easy to understand na pwedeng maging catchy siya, ganyan. So, yun nga, yun yung goal natin dito. So, since nakapag-discuss na yung mga kasamahan ko regarding sa section 1 to 11, ngayon naman, i-discuss natin ang section 12 sa pinakamadali ang discussion. Okay. So, let's proceed. So, unang-unang matatakan natin dito ay ang Section 12. Ano nga ba ang Section 12? Okay. Section 12 is also known as the Prohibition on Designations. So, which means, ang Section 12, it states that no law can give courts or judges any duty that does not relate to the administration of justice. Sa madaling salita, it is a simple terms of where court cannot be assigned tasks that are not judicial in nature. Which means, ang court is hindi nila pwedeng panghawakan yung mga bagay na hindi nila saklaw. Okay, ganun siya. Okay, bakit? Ano yung reason? Bakit hindi nila? Bakit? Kasi court sila di ba? Dapat hawak nila yung ano. Pero hindi. Ito kasi yun. Ang sabi dito, it's because it protects the judicial independence and prevents judges from doing political or executive function. So, since ang mga courts natin, ang big function talaga nila is for defending or for protecting the independence or preventing the judges to commit something na hindi maganda. Let's say, for example, they're implementing something, ganyan. They aren't allowed to do that kasi, yun nga, they protect the judicial independence, diba? Okay. So, ito yung example, okay. The example for this is that, let's say for example, a Congress cannot pass a certain law because it requires a judge to manage a government agency or sit as a voting member of a cabinet committee. Okay, ulitin natin. A Congress cannot pass a law requiring a judges to manage a government agency or sit as a voting member of a cabinet committee. So, si Congress daw, hindi daw siya makapasa ng law. Kasi, it requires a judge to manage a government agency. Kailangan niyang siyasatin ng mabuti yung batas na ipapanukala ni Congress. Okay, bago siya dumaan sa proseso ng pagbubotohan siya, ganyan, na, okay, para masali ka sa cabinet committee, ganyan. So, ito yung rason kung bakit. Bakit yun nga, ang Congress cannot pass a law without requiring a judge? Kasi ito siya. Because that is not part of administrating justice, which, okay, so hindi daw siya part ng administering justice rather, yung yung pagpapasa ng law. Okay, so since na-discuss na natin ng Section 12, we're going to proceed to Section 13. So ano nga ba ang Section 13? Section 13 is also known as the process of designing decisions or writing a system. Okay. Meaning, ang Section 13 is, it is the Supreme Court must design a system that ensures cases are decided properly and efficiently. Okay. So, which means, ang Supreme Court, gagawa sila ng isang concept or like, kumbaga sa bola. Okay. Example lang to. Kumbaga sa bola, gagawa sila ng pinakamagandang bola na hindi masisira. Kumbaga, sa bola na yon, doon nila isi-secure yung mga cases, yung mga kumbaga yung bibigyan nila ng magandang pataw or like magandang pansin. So, for them to decide it properly na, okay, ito yung gamitin mong bola para kasi ito maganda siya, ganyan. Pero parang ganun, kumbaga, do you get the point na they're going to make a circle, which is, kunyari, ito yung circle, tapos ito yung mga insurance cases na pag naipon nila yan, pagpipilian nila yan, kung ano yung maganda, ano yung mostly efficient na kailangan nilang pagtuunan ng pansin. Now, the Chief Justice supervises the system the system. Okay, si Chief Justice daw, siya yung namumuno or siya yung kumbaga, nasa kanya yung huling agreement or nasa kanya yung pinaka important na decision. Kasi, ang decision mula sa kanya is, it must be reached in division meetings, not by just one, but not not by just one justice acting alone. So, okay. So, ulitin natin the Chief Justice supervises the system but decisions must be reached in division meetings. So, ang ibig sabihin niya dito, ang Chief Justice ay kailangan magbigay ng supervise, kumbaga ng control. Pero, ang pagdidesisyon is like, what do we call this? Kailangan is nandun yung ibang committee. Yes, diba? Kasi, yun nga, must be reached in division meetings. Kailangan may kasama siya na magdi-decide. Hindi naman porket siya yung magsusupervise, is hawak niya na yung lahat. No. Kaya nga nasabi yung quote na, not by just one, justice acting alone. Sorry, justice acting alone. Kasi, dapat, meron pa rin, although may naka-supervise, it should be surrounded by other judges rin, yung mga ganyan. So, what's the main purpose of it? So, the main purpose of it is that to maintain fairness and reduce delays. Okay. So, here's an example for Section 13. Example, Okay. If a case is assigned to the first division, the decision should be discussed and approved by the members of that justice. So, meaning, a single justice cannot issue a final decision without the division's deliberation. Yun siya. Okay. Again, a single justice cannot issue a final decision without the division's deliberation. Okay. So, ang single justice daw ay hindi siya pwedeng magbigay ng desisyon or desisyon kung walang division's deliberation, walang masinsinang, walang dinaanan na proseso, hindi dumaan sa proseso na kailangan pagbutuhan yung certain case na yon. Now, sa Section 14 naman, we're going to discuss the decisions must state the facts in the law. So, ano nga ba ito? Ang Section 14, it requires every decision or ruling must clearly state, unang-una, the case must be fact or like katotohanan talaga siya. It's full of the artifacts of this case is highly talaga siya, kumbaga hindi siya basta-basta kasi purong katotohanan. Ganun naman talaga pag magpapasa sila ng case or like magpapasa sila ng isang batas or anything, something ganyan. It must consist of like fact, information, or like yung mga goals mo, parang kunyari ganyan. So, pangalawa, the law or rule on which it is based, no decision may be made without this explanation. Okay, sorry. Okay, so, ang law daw, or the rule, should be based, no decision may be made without this explanation. Kumbaga, hindi ka basta-basta magde-decide, but it's something like, you decide, but you give explanation into this, na, why did you came up with something ganyan? Okay, gets nyo ba yun? Okay, parang ganon. Okay, so, sa madaling salita, the section states that case can only be decided after deliberation, and the court must indicate who concurred or dissented or abstained. Okay, so the main purpose of this is to have transparency and accountability. Kumbaga, it should have a fairness, patas. Kaya, kailangan yung ganong, deliberation. Okay, so, ngayon, we'll proceed dito sa pangalawang examples niya. Okay, let's call is that the Supreme Court upholds a conviction, which means it must explain the facts or like what happened, what's the main purpose, what laws applied, ano nga ba yung mga ano yung pinagmulan, ano yung pinagbasehan mo, is it, for example, revised penal code provisions, ganyan, diba? So, pangatlo is yung yung which justice agreed or disagreed, o kumbaga, yun nga, magkakaroon sila ng botohan, ganto ganyan, mag-agree ba kayo sa ganto, yung decision ko na ito, mag-agree ba kayo or not? So, It's simply as that. Kailangan that doesn't mean na you supervise na, gaya ng sabi ko na, that doesn't mean na you supervise na you hold the whole control. No, kung sino man yung nakapalibot sa'yo or nakapaligid sa'yo, dapat tulungan ka nila or kailangan marinig mo rin yung opinion nila or yung mga suggestions nila na, okay, I have to like ganyan, di ba? Okay, so, hindi pwedeng like sasabihin mo lang, approve lang, ganyan. It must show or like it should show a legal reasoning. Kailangan dumaan talaga siya sa masusing proseso, kahit mahirap pa yan, pero at least dumaan sa masusing proseso yung mga ginagawa nila. Okay, so let's proceed to section 15. Ano nga ba ang section 15? Ang section 15 is known as the time limits for deciding cases. Okay, so sa section 15, medyo interesting to kasi ang section 15 is mainly, ang ibig sabihin niya doon sa ano niya is like, it sets strict deadlines. May sinusunod na certain day or like a certain deadline to prevent delays. Kasi pag let's say for example, nagpasa sila ng different types of cases, tapos hindi naman siya napagtutuunan ng pansin, nagiging tambak siya, gumaganyan, ganyan, hanggang sa dumating na sa langit, ganyan. No, kasi ganito siya. Hindi siya pwedeng ma-delay kasi the more na ma-delay, pag natatambakan ka, yung mga possible, kunyari, yung pinasa mo doon na maganda, pero unfortunately, hindi siya nakita, so binasura na lang kasi sobrang dami ng pinasa mo, ganto ganyan, 'di ba? So kaya bawal na ma-delay yung mga cases, kaya may strict time limitation siya kung kailan siya pwedeng bigyan ng kumbaga, yun nga, gaya ng sabi ko, hindi pwedeng ma-delay yung mga cases na yun kasi pag natambakan, kung importante man yung ipinasa mo, tapos hindi naman siya napagtuunan ng pansin, di sayang lang yung effort mo, diba? Okay, so, ito yon. The Supreme Court must decide cases within 24 months. Okay, sa loob ng 24 months, ang Supreme Court is magdidesisyon sila. So, which means that the Court of Appeals and other colleague courts have 12 months. Okay, kung si Supreme Court may 24 months, si Court of Appeals naman meron siyang 12 months. So, lower courts of 3 months. Kumbaga, yun. Ito, wait lang. Balikan natin doon kasi medyo nakakalito siya. Okay, so ang purpose kasi nga ng time limitation is para hindi matambakan at hindi mabasura lang yung mga pinapasa nilang batas. Now, paano kung maganda pala yung kaso natatambakan siya sa dami na nagpapasa? Kaya binibigyan sila ng pagkakataon na mag-decide or like magkaroon ng deadlines para okay, pag hindi dumating yung ganito, okay, ganyan. So, kung si Supreme Court 24 months, si Court of Appeals naman is 12 months, si lower courts is 3 months, which means yan, yung tatlong yan, si Supreme Court is 24 months, is siya yung may pinakamahabang months for them to think wisely kasi pagbubutuhan pa nila yan pagpipilian nila. Ang Court of Appeals same lang din pero bumaba lang siya ng 12 kasi yun nga, they are just the appeal, Court of Appeals and other kumbaga sa Supreme Court yan yung like pinakamataas na ako. Ang Court of Appeals is like mostly yung mga nag-a-attend, mga ganyan. So lower courts, yung mga alam na natin, mga parang kunyari yung hindi masyado nakakapagbigay ng mga suggestions or like sa mga cases. So the purpose of this is that is to delay, justice must be delayed is justice denied. Okay, justice delayed is justice denied. Okay, so let's say for example, gaya nung sabi ko, yung example ko kanina, kunyari maganda yung pinasa mo na what's this case, or like batas, something ganyan, pero dahil hindi siya pinagtunan ng pansin, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, natambakan. So, ibig sabihin, yung ano mo, wala na siya. Yung pinaghirapan mo, wala na siya. So, kaya, merong limitation. For ensuring the faster resolution. Okay. So, let's say, for example, ito. If a case is submitted to a regional trial court on January 1, the judge must decide it no later than April 1. Okay, hindi pwedeng lumagpas si judge na magbigay ng hatol. Okay, why? If the deadline is missed, the judge must explain and may face administrative sanction. Okay, para may punishment yung mga judge pag nilabag rin nila yung batas na yan. Okay, for the section 16, we're going to discuss the we're going to discuss the annual judicial report. So, what is annual judicial report? Okay, so annual judicial section is like, this is the section that requires the Chief Justice to submit within 30 days after the start of each regular session. Okay, so dapat daw si Chief Justice or si is magsusubmita na ng ng annual report, kasi syempre importante yung annual report na may makikita yung, 'di ba, yung uupo doon sa certain kaso na yon. So the Congress is detailed to annual report on, like, ito yung mga main focus nila. Okay, una, the operation of the judiciary. Pangalawa, the status of all pending and completed cases. Yun, yung dalawa lang. So, yung dalawa na yan is like, yan yung pinaka-main important na kailangan makita sa annual report. So, the purpose for this is that to keep the judiciary transparent and accountable to the public. Kumbaga, malinis pa rin yung tingin sa kanila at walang halong pandadaya. Kumbaga, yung nila is maganda, yung mga kumbaga, mapapakita nila na ito dumaan sa tamang proseso kasi ganito, 'di ba? Okay, so ito, example nito. Example nito. If the annual report, the Chief Justice may state number of cases and resolved. Ayan, numbers of cases filed and resolved. Okay. So, ang annual report, it should be the Chief Justice have, or like makita nila yung reforms of implemented at saka yung isa yung numbers of cases filed and resolved and backlogs that is still need to be addressed. Kailangan bigyan siya ng pansin. Kahit yung mga backlogs, yung sinasabing backlogs is like yung mga, kahit yung maliliit na detalye, kailangan ma-address pa rin yan. For them to inform the Congress that the public is how effectively the court is performing. Kumbaga, may mapakita sila sa korte or may mapakita sila sa ibang tao regarding sa nila, yung yung paghihearing or something sa mga kaso, mga cases ganyan. So for the summary of this topic, okay, ang section 12 to 16 or also known as article 8 is for us to ensure our courts remain independent, transparent, and efficient, because these provisions protect the integrity of justice, which the systems by preventing improper assignments. So, by this, the guidelines on decision making, enforcing the deadlines, and requiring accountability through annual reporting. So, yun yung pinaka-important na role sa section 8. Yan yung pinaka-main topic na kailangan, pinaka-main role na kailangan magampanan ng mga judicial. So, yun lang. Thank you sa pakikinig. Ciao!